Lucas Hall sat quietly in seat for 3A near the back of the transport shuttle. He was a student with short brown hair and calm eyes. The shuttle was flying from Earth to Mars Station, where most of the passengers were busy talking, laughing, or working on their tablets. Lucas said nothing. He only looked out the window and wrote something in his notebook. Soldiers were sitting a few rows ahead. Business people talked about contracts and meetings. A baby cried in the far corner. The ship was full, but Lucas felt like he was alone. He just wanted to finish his notes about a machine he was working on in school. Carla Moore, a soldier sitting near the middle, noticed him once. She thought he looked very focused. She smiled for a second, but then turned back to her team. There was no reason to notice him more. An hour into the flight, the shuttle shook hard. Lights flickered. Captain's voice came over the speaker, saying there was a problem with the stabilizer. People began to whisper. Some stood up in panic. A few cried out. Lucas stayed calm. He closed his notebook, stood up, and walked slowly to the back access panel. No one stopped him because no one really saw him. He opened the panel with a small tool he carried. His fingers moved quickly across the wires. A crew member came rushing back. "Hey, you can't be back here," he said. Lucas turned his head and said, "If you restart the main circuit without redirecting the subline, the ship will spin. Let me do this." The crew member hesitated. Then he spoke into his com. "I've got a student here who says he can fix it." The captain's voice answered, "Give him 30 seconds." Lucas did not need 30 seconds. He rewired the subline and tapped the fuse. The lights came back. The ship stopped shaking. The stabilizer came back online. People clapped and cheered, but they did not know why the problem was over. Lucas walked back to his seat and sat down. He opened his notebook again. Carla looked back. She saw him sitting there as if nothing had happened. She walked to the crew and asked, "What just happened?" "Some kid helped us fix the stabilizer," the crew member said. "He knew exactly what to do." "Which kid?" she asked. He pointed. "Seat for 3A." Carla looked, but Lucas was already asleep, notebook on his lap. When the shuttle landed at Mars Station, people rushed out. Some were late for meetings. Some were just glad to be safe. Lucas walked slowly behind them all. Carla waited near the exit. She wanted to speak to him, but Lucas was gone. He did not leave a name, did not say goodbye. Later, Carla asked the crew for his name. They checked the shuttle log. There was no Lucas Hall listed. She looked at the footage. The camera near seat for 3A was blurry. His face could not be seen clearly. She asked other passengers, but no one remembered him. Carla felt something strange. She knew she had seen him. She knew he had helped. But why was he not in the record? She wrote a short report and sent it to her base. She called it Incident with Unknown Student in Seat for 3A. That night, she sat in her bunk thinking, most people forgot the shaking, most forgot the danger. But she remembered the boy who walked to the back, fixed the wires, and saved the ship. Carla whispered to herself, "Who are you?" Lucas Hall. Carla Moore could not stop thinking about the boy in seat for 3A. After the flight, she sent a message to Space Command asking for more details. She asked for the shuttle passenger list. When the file arrived, she checked it twice. His name was not there. She searched for Lucas Hall in the Academy database. Nothing came up. No school records, no ID, no background. It was like he did not exist. Carla sat back in her chair and stared at the screen. Something was not right. She opened the shuttle footage from the flight. She watched the moment the ship shook and people panicked. She saw herself stand up. She saw crew running, but when she looked at seat 43A, it was empty. Then, after the ship was steady again, he was suddenly there again, sitting with his notebook. The part where he walked to the back and fixed the wires was missing. It was like someone had cut that part out. Carla felt a chill. She walked to the tech office and asked to see the full footage. Tech checked the logs and shook his head. "That section of the file is corrupted," he said. "We don't know why it was working before," Carla said. "Yes, but now it's broken." Carla left the office and looked around the Mars Station terminal. Hundreds of people walked past her, all busy with their own missions. No one knew that they had almost died in space. No one knew who had saved them. She found the crew member who had spoken with Lucas. "Do you remember the student who helped with the stabilizer?" she asked. Yeah, I remember, he said. Brown hair, quiet, smart. Do you remember what he said? He told me to redirect the subline before restarting. He was right. Did he say his name? Oh, just started working. I asked for his ID later, but he was gone. Gaga nod. She thanked him and walked away. She opened her datapad and started writing notes. She listed every detail she could remember. Later that night, she visited the local control room. She spoke with a friend named Jenna, who worked security. Can you check the station entry logs for someone named Lucas Hall? Carla asked. Jenna searched the system. No record. Can you check the visual logs? Maybe he was picked up by a camera. They watched the video of passengers leaving the shuttle. Carla pointed. That's him, there. Jenna paused the video. His face is blurry. That's strange. Why is it always blurry? Could be camera issue. But only his face is blurry. Everyone else is clear. Carla saved the image and sent it to her report file. She added a new title. Unknown student appears again. The next day, Carla looked up reports from other flights and space stations. She searched for similar events. After hours of work, she found something. A report from Titan Station told of a young person who stopped a fuel line explosion. The report said no one knew his name. Another story from a cargo ship said a student gave key help during a fire. Again, no name, no ID. Only blurry footage. Carla printed all the reports and laid them out on her table. The pattern was clear. It's the same type of person. Always helping. Always gone before questions. She whispered, "Seat for 3A. You're not just a student." She made a new file. She called it the student in seat for 3A. She began to ask other people at Mars Station. Engineers, pilots, crew members. Some had heard the name. Some remembered a quiet person helping. No one could explain who he was. That night, Carla stood by the window of her quarters. She looked out at the stars and wondered where he was now. "You saved us," she said quietly, "and no one knows? But I'll find out." She opened her pad and wrote the final line of her report for the day. Lucas Hall. Unknown, unseen, but real. She closed her eyes and made a promise to herself. She would not stop looking. Not until she found out the truth about the student in seat for 3A. Lucas Hall moved quietly from one place to another. He never stayed long. He used transport shuttles, service tunnels, and old cargo routes. People saw him sometimes, but forgot quickly. He fixed broken systems, stopped small disasters, and helped people who never even asked. One time, he was seen on a cargo ship near Jupiter. Cooling unit failed, and the ship was hours away from explosion. Lucas walked into the engine room, rewired a few lines, and left before the crew understood what had happened. No one stopped him. The security footage again showed only a blurry figure. The Titan Station, a large cargo lift, almost crashed. The control software had failed. Lucas was in the control room, though no one remembered him entering. He sat at the panel, tapped the screen fast, and brought the lift to a slow stop. Then he walked out the door and disappeared. The workers cheered, but no one could name the person who saved them. Back on Mars Station, Carla Moore kept searching. She had collected 9 reports so far. Each report told of someone who looked like a young student. Each story ended with the person vanishing before anyone could ask questions. Some crew began to call him a ghost. Others called him a system glitch. Carla did not agree. She believed he was real. She shared her file with a retired officer named Peter Lane. He used to work in data tracking. He read through her notes and looked at the blurry photos. "This is not an accident," Peter said. "Someone is hiding him, but who? And why?" Carla asked. Peter rubbed his chin. "Maybe he's not just a student. Maybe he was part of something bigger." Carla sat in silence. That thought had crossed her mind before. What if Lucas was part of a secret program? What if his identity was erased on purpose? She sent a formal request to the Central Archive. She asked for access to old test programs related to human-machine systems. She waited for days. Finally, a message came. Her request was denied. The file was marked top secret. That night, Carla sat alone in her room. She looked again at the photo of Lucas from the Mars station camera. His face was still unclear, but his shape and hair were the same in every report. She said softly, "Why do you keep helping? Why do you keep hiding?" The next day, Carla visited a retired scientist named Dr. Helen Grant. She had worked on old projects for the space agency years ago. Carla showed her the reports and the photos. Dr. Grant read them all. Then she said there was a project. It's very quiet. It was shut down. They tried to make enhanced humans with advanced logic and calm thinking. Most did not pass. One escaped. A boy. What was his name? Carla asked. We never had a real name. We just called him Subject 11. Carla felt her heart race. Could he be Lucas? If he survived, he was different. He learned fast. He fixed problems quickly, but he didn't trust people. Carla thanked her and left. She now had a new piece of the puzzle. She added a new line to her report. Lucas Hall may be Subject 11, escaped, helping in secret. She printed his photo and placed it on her wall. Below it, she wrote, "Seat for 3A. He is still out there." Lucas, far away on another transport ship, looked out the window. He saw the stars pass by. He held his notebook in his hand. It was full of drawings and plans. He felt tired, but he knew he had to keep moving. He had no name, no ID, and no home. But he had a purpose. Every system he saved, every ship he fixed, was part of something larger. He did not want thanks. He did not want to be found. But he did wonder, just for a moment, if someone remembered him. He closed his notebook, leaned back, and closed his eyes. Somewhere deep inside, he knew someone was looking for him. That gave him a small bit of peace. Carla Moore stood at the edge of a frozen hill on Europa. Cold wind blew across the ice fields. She pulled her jacket tight and looked at the small building ahead. It was an old observatory, long abandoned. She had followed months of clues to reach this place. Old records, broken codes, few old names from the past. It all pointed here. She stepped inside. The door creaked as it opened. The air was cold and still. Dust covered the floor. Broken tools and wires lay across old tables. It looked like no one had been there for years, but something felt strange. She walked through the rooms, shining her light across the walls. In one corner, she found a notebook. The cover was worn, but she opened it. Inside were drawings of machines, circuits, and ship systems. The writing was neat and careful. Some of the designs were the same ones used in military ships. She turned the pages slowly. On the last page, there was a small sketch, boy in a shuttle seat. Below it, the words, "Seat for 3A." Carla sat down and stared at the notebook. This was proof he had been here. Lucas Hall, or Subject 11, had stayed in this place. She looked around again and saw a small metal box hidden under the desk. She opened it. Inside was a medal. It was plain, silver in color. On it, just one line was written. To the one who never asked to be known. She held the medal in her hand. She felt the weight of it. It's not just the medal, but the meaning. Someone had left this for him. Maybe someone who knew who he really was. Maybe even Lucas himself. She stood up and took one last look around. There were no pictures, no names, no signs, only silence. But that silence told a story. Lucas had lived here. He had worked here. Maybe he had built things here. Maybe he had saved lives from this quiet place. Carla returned to Mars Station and went straight to her command center. She submitted everything she found: the notebook, the medal, photos of the observatory. She filed her report with the title, "The Hidden Medal." Her commanding officer read the report but said little. "Do you want this to be made public?" he asked. "No," Carla said. "He wouldn't want that." He nodded. "Then what do you want?" Carla thought for a moment. A memory. Something silent. A small honor. She suggested a new medal to be placed every year at the main alliance ceremony. A medal with no name. It's only a seat left empty. Seat for 3A. Her request was approved. The first ceremony took place 6 months later. The hall was full. Soldiers, scientists, leaders, and students came from every colony. On the main stage were rows of chairs for honored guests. One seat was different. It had no one sitting in it. A silver medal rested on the cushion. Small sign beside it read, "Seat for 3A, reserved for the one we never knew." People looked at the empty chair and asked about it. Some were told it was a symbol of someone who helped others and never stayed. A few understood more. A few remembered the boy with the notebook. Few remembered the stories that never had names. Carla watched from the crowd. She did not speak. She only smiled and nodded. Far away, Lucas sat in a quiet corner of a deep space station. He watched the ceremony on a small screen. He saw the empty chair, saw the medal, closed his eyes for a moment. He picked up his notebook and added a new page, a drawing of the chair. Below it, he wrote only one word: "Thanks," put the notebook away and stood up. A call came through the speakers. A problem on a mining ship. Reactor failure. Lucas picked up his bag and walked toward the transport bay. Did not need medals. He did not need names. He only needed to keep going. To help. To fix. To be there. And as long as someone remembered the empty seat, that was enough. Years passed. The empty chair with the silver medal became a quiet part of every award ceremony. New people came every year.
Ow.
They stood in front of seat for 3A and asked about it. Some were told stories, some were told nothing. But the chair remained, and the medal always rested in place. Carla Moore was older now. She had seen many missions and helped many teams. She never stopped thinking about Lucas Hall. She still believed he was out there, still moving from place to place, helping in silence. One morning, Carla received a small message on her personal tablet. It had no sender, no subject. Only a few words. "Thank you for remembering. Still helping. Seat 43A." Carla smiled and whispered, "I knew it." In another part of space, a colony on the edge of the system was in danger. Their power core was failing. If it failed fully, the cold would take over, and many people would not survive. Engineers worked fast, but were losing hope. A young technician ran into the control room. Someone just fixed the coolant system. We don't know who. The chief engineer asked, "Where is he now?" "Gone," the tech said. "He left this." He held up a small note. It said, "Check the second fuse box. Main line restored." The engineer looked confused. Who signed it? No name. Just one word. Lucas. People began to speak again about the unknown student. The one who helped, but never stayed. Some called him a ghost. Others believed he was real. Quiet hero, always moving, always watching. Back on Earth, a young girl named Eliza sat at her desk at the academy. She studied hard every day. Her brother had once been saved on a shuttle flight by someone no one could name. Their family told the story again and again. Liza believed in that story more than anything. She wanted to be like that unknown student. Smart, brave, kind. She wrote an essay called "The One in Seat for 3A." Her teacher read it and placed it on the main wall of the school. Others read it too and felt something. A reminder that not all heroes wore medals. Some just left a seat empty. At the next Alliance ceremony, a group of new students came forward. They placed the medal on the chair with great care. They stood in silence. Then one of them said, "We honor the one who chose to be forgotten." Carla sat in the back, her hands resting on her lap. She looked at the new generation and felt hope. The story was still alive. In the deep part of space, a ship floated near a broken satellite. Inside the ship, Lucas worked with calm hands. He fixed the panel, restarted the signal, and watched the light turn green. He smiled to himself. He sat back in the pilot's chair and opened his notebook. It was almost full now. He turned to the last page and drew a small star next to the words, "Seat for 3A." He looked out the window. The stars were wide and silent. He did not need thanks. He did not need to be found. But knowing someone remembered gave him strength. He closed the notebook and started the engines. There was always someone who needed help. Another system, another signal, another problem to fix. And as long as the chair remained, as long as the medal was placed, he knew his story would not be lost. He whispered to himself, "Still here, still helping." Then he flew off into the stars, quiet as always, leaving only a story behind.